James Blake has spent most of his career existing slightly outside the system, but Trying Times feels like the first moment he has fully stepped away from it. This is the first album released entirely on his own label, Good Boy Records, with no major label infrastructure behind him, no Republic Records machine, no traditional campaign strategy, no sense that anyone else had a hand on the wheel, really. Blake has called it his favorite album he's ever made, and that matters because he's not an artist who throws statements around like that lightly. There's a confidence here that feels earned. Not louder, just clearer. The rollout matched that energy. No giant teaser campaigns. There wasn't this algorithm friendly countdown or anything crazy. Instead, he just built this password protected website, and people signed up and uh, to pre-save the album, and there you go. Here's the project. He has actually been talking about a lot about how the whole streaming and how that's eaten away at artists' ability to like make a living and like live a life, and like it's just like corrupted the entire game. But he's still out here doing the work. Um, and if you were part of um, that drop, then there was actually a track that he like an early release of "Death of Love," featuring Dave on there. It's a little bit mysterious. That's very James Blake, and it fits with what he's been saying publicly, say for years in regards to these whole streaming services and the economics around artist ownership of their craft and their work. Trying Times is him putting those beliefs into practice. More than anything, it sounds like an artist reclaiming his time. The biggest difference in Trying Times isn't the sound, it's the feeling behind it. Blake has always loved minimalism, but here the empty spaces feel intentional. Their earlier works can feel stark, maybe even jarring if you're not, you know, familiar with his genre or his style, or maybe you're not expansive in your music palette. Um, Silence matters for James Blake. That's part of the tapestry. Sometimes some songs can stretch out because there's a feeling that he needs you to tap into like 10 seconds later. There's a way that it lands, right? So it's very specific, it's very intentional. But I can understand somebody who's like, if you're just a casual, you want something that just moves you, kind of thing like that. James Blake can be a little bit hard to get into. But if you give it if you give it your attention just for a little bit, at least one listen, like I always said, you'll come away from this project feeling a little bit more whole, a little bit more inspired, a little bit more um, um, like cultured. I dare to say cultured, right? I hate to give the British people the credit for anything saying something cultured because they you don't want to like you don't want to dive too much into the pretentiousness, but the production breathes, and that makes the emotional moments land harder. Thematically, the album circles exhaustion, overstimulation, and the pressure of staying emotionally present in a world that constantly asks for more. And then there's the spinning plates cover. You check out the cover on here, and it's James Blake. He's got these plates on these little skinny sticks, and it's the it's a saying, you know what I mean, of how like, oh man, I got a lot of plates spinning right now. Somebody that's stressed out, they got a lot going on, they got a lot that's happening simultaneously, right? Blake has he's never had an album cover that was like, I don't think any of his album covers were like that precise to actually what the music is about. It's a perfect match. The artwork is by a guy named Robbie Lawrence. So he's surrounded by these plates on these sticks. He's leaning forward, hands raised. And if any one of them could topple, everything comes crashing down, sort of thing, right? Across interviews, Blake has framed this as a metaphor for his overwhelming personal, professional, and creative load that he's had to carry. Producing as well as being a vocalist, as well as going independent. It was a tough road for him to make this project over the past 2.5 years, right? Check out Death of Love. on this project. This is gonna be the second one on this thing. This is the centerpiece of this thing, right? The London Welsh male voice choir gives the song a huge, almost spiritual scale, with Blake's voice staying fragile and close, right? It's a song about collapse and what survives after the collapse. One of those, the strongest tracks that he's produced in years. Like, hopefully this one can, hit the mainstream, at least for other people can just like get tapped into what he's got going on. Although James, James Blake is pretty popular. I had a dream. She took my hand. This is one of the gentle moments on the record. The song drifts. It floats away from predictability, and that softness becomes its strength. It feels like Blake finally letting himself sit inside a single moment. Didn't come to argue, featuring Monica Martin. Where is this one on the project? This is the sixth track on the project. It comes across almost like a traditional ballad. Monica Martin doesn't just appear on this thing; she reshapes the track. Her voice adds tension. It comes a little bit more pronounced later on in the track, turning the song into something less like a duet and more like two people circling the same emotional drain, but from like different angles. Doesn't just happen. I love this one. This one featuring Dave, UK hip hop artist Dave. He brings this narrative sharpness that cuts through Blake's atmosphere beautifully. Blake never overcrowds the track. He gives Dave space to be specific, and the result is one of the album's standout collaborations. Maybe you stopped putting in time somewhere along the line, and everything good doesn't just happen. Falling in love doesn't just happen. Staying in love doesn't just happen. Repeating that again, then reaching above doesn't just happen. Staying in love doesn't just happen. That message there, like, you're preaching to the choir, bro. Like, like relationships, it's a participation sport, and you know it when you win one, right? You know you when you're in one of those relationships with like your partner is just mailing it in. Once you realize that, they may not realize you realize that. It's about time you check in. That's when you know. You know what? I need to check in because this is a participation sport and somebody is just going. What is it? What is it going? Not the. What's that term is? Not going with the flow. They're going with like autopilot. Autopilot. Recognize your partner is on autopilot. Recognize maybe you might fall into autopilot. Step out of that. It doesn't just happen. Having you see your, oh, my aunt and uncle has been together for 50 years, or my parents were together for 30 years, kind of thing. That doesn't just happen. That takes work. That takes ups. It takes downs. It takes effort. It takes going through the trials of fire. Staying in love, like it says here, doesn't just happen. Everything good doesn't just happen. You have to work at it. Even in your own life, outside of relationship, your career, other opportunities in the world for you to like turn your hobbies maybe into paid endeavors, things like those things don't just happen. You have to put yourself out there. You have to, like, it's a participation sport. So love that message. Dope track. Check that one out. Trying Times is an album about modern pressure, but it never feels suffocating. It's intimate without being delicate, electronic without losing warmth, because there is some moments that you can maybe dance to in here. Even in its heaviest moments, there's air enough um, to breathe through and move through the songs. More than anything, Blake sounds free. There's energy here that less like feels less like reinvention and more like release. It's like remembering why he started making music in the first place. It's pretty much a common theme when you talk about independent artists. With the first, especially when they first become independent, they're like, "Yo, this is what I wanted to do all along. This is what I did from the start." And and being able to tap back into that, you get some great music you get some great stuff from this. Especially if it's an artist that's been around for a while and you were an early fan and he kind of like fell off, and like, oh yeah, this is what I was missing, because they're able to tap back into that. So this project is one of those. If you're looking for one of those, this is one of those. This is great for like maybe a late night listen. Maybe if you're in a like a transit space, like you're catching the metro late night. There's not a bunch of people around. It's not a big crowd. You get to like sit by the window, and just watch the city fly by on your way home. Maybe you're in an Uber. Throw your headphones in. You don't have to have that conversation with the Uber driver. You don't have to be their entertainment for that ride. Throw it on and just like look out the window, but like don't just like drift away, but like really look into your city. Just like look around, because when you're a driver, you're focused on the car ahead. You miss a lot of the landscape. So this is a chance to really like connect. I feel you're surrounded by movement, but yet you're still kind of locked into this like calm space that James Blake constantly creates in his projects. There's no urgency. You're being either the metro is taking you where you gotta be, or the Uber or Lyft is taking you where you gotta be. This moment belongs to you, and drift away. That's when this album really opens up. I feel James Blake isn't just releasing another album here. He's making a case for independence, for patience, for trusting listeners to meet the music halfway. Trying Times doesn't chase immediacy; it chases depth, and that's exactly the way that it stays with you.